All right, we got a 1979 Ford F150 Super Cab, and it's a long bed Super Cab, which they're not the coolest thing out there right now. Everyone's wanting the two-wheel drive, short bed, slammed F100s, but this one's not. This one's long bed 4x4 Super Cab. So you're probably noticing some different stuff here on the suspension. This suspension came from I think a 2010 F250 Super Duty. So this thing rides like a modern vehicle. It's got disc brakes all the way around. So the axles and the suspension came from the Super Duty donor. And then also it's got a 5 liter Coyote in it. Overall, this is a very, very nice build, very fun to do. This truck started off, I got it maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and it was in really, really poor condition. It was that jade green. It was 4 or 5 different colors, and I ended up getting it from a guy in Columbia, South Carolina. So I think I got it the rolling chassis essentially for a really good deal. The fenders were shot, the bed was shot. So essentially what I kept off of this truck was the frame, cab, doors, and the hood. And then of course, most of the dash components and stuff like that. Everything else is essentially new, with including the bed. So can't really find aftermarket bed components. All you can find is the skins, like the inner skin, the outer skin. So we had to buy the skins and fabricate them to actually build a bed. So you can't find kits for the long beds in the 79. Very difficult to find if you do find them. So that's what we ended up having to do. So you can see some of the body work on the cab is not really all that great. We didn't spend a ton of time, we didn't put in several hundred hours of body work or anything like that. So you will see, a lot of body defects and like the lines and things like that. It is kind of a backyard paint job. It's not bad, but it's way better than what it was previously when I first got the truck. And so I may cut in some pictures of what the truck used to look like. It does have the Raptor liner, spray-in bed liner. It turned out pretty good. A lot of the chrome trim has either been refurbished or is brand new. I'm missing the chrome trim for each side of the bed on the lower portion. That's the racetrack portion. I'm still trying to source that. And once I do, I'll get it polished up and put on the truck. All the glass, seals, and chrome trim rings, all that is new. The door kits, everything's new. All the dash components, of course, are new. Essentially, pretty much every nut and bolt on this thing is new. So we had it down to the frame, no engine, no suspension, anything on it. Completely Restomod the suspension, did the Coyote swap. It's got a 6R80, so it's a Gen 2 Coyote. Painted the inside of the cab as well, refurbished all of the plastic inside, new headliner, glass, door components, vent windows, all that good stuff. Overall, pretty good build. I'll give you more detail on the interior here shortly. I'll finish the walk around. Bumpers are new, all LMC truck stuff. Most of the suspension components are all new, except for the axles. Those were used, but they were in low mileage and really good condition. Shocks are Bilstein shocks. Coilovers are from Rough Country. New leaf springs, shackles, all that good stuff. All new grill components. Then all the ancillary things like nuts, bolts, wedges, all that good stuff. It's all new. So this truck does sit pretty high. I mean, it's really hard to see it in the video, but this truck, relative to a newer stock F150, you can see the difference in height here and size, and like the ride height of the bottom of the truck. So I realized quickly after doing the suspension, I knew I was going to need to end up putting some steps on this. So I ended up doing the automatic amp steps here, some custom fabrication and brackets to get those mounted up, and they're very, very strong. It'll support 10 of me on those things. Interior kit, standard LMC truck stuff, put some tremor mats in there. Seats came from a 21 Mustang GT. These are actually cloth, but I just did some, I don't know, aftermarket seat covers on them. It's got the dyno matting in here throughout the cab, ceiling, all that good stuff. So it's a nice quiet ride going down the road. And then on this Super Duty suspension, it really does feel like you're driving a modern truck. I mean, it's very quiet in here. You can have, you know, a conversation going down the highway. Super comfortable ride. You'll notice that the back seat is missing. I do have the back seat. I'm trying to source some material that's similar to this with the white stitching to get it refurbished, but it's still that old green, jade green color. Dakota digital gauges. It's got the what do they call it, the retro sound stereo system, Restomod AC system. AC blows nice and cold. Dakota digital gauges. This is the VHX model gauge cluster. So it's nice gauge cluster. Everything comes from the PCM through the OBD2 port right here. I opted for the dimmer switch and all that good stuff. It's got American Auto Wire wiring harness, so all the wiring is brand new throughout the entire truck. The exception of one wire on this entire truck is still not new, and that goes from this switch over to here. That wire was actually in really good condition, and I thought, well, I'll just keep that one instead of fishing a new one. So you can see the Coyote gas pedal there. Before I go under the hood, I'll just start it up and let you guys hear it. Sounds really, really good. It's gonna be, I don't know, kind of a cold start. I think I drove this truck a couple hours ago, so let's see here. Runs absolutely fantastic. Push button 4x4 here, so you can put it in 4 high, 4 low. This came from Kinzer chassis. Right here, we're running a electric power steering pump, and there's a reason why we ended up having to do it that way with the configuration of the motor. With the Super Duty suspension, we couldn't fit any other type of power steering pump on here, so we had to go with a electric power steering pump. So this turns that on and off. Oh, I gotta tighten that up. I'll tighten that up later. This one right here is to lock the front hubs. So when you put it in 4 high, flip that switch, it'll lock the hubs for 4x4. And then take it out, you push and hold the 2 high button, and then turn your locking hubs off. We did put in a really nice rear view camera here. So it's got front view, rear view. It's got GPS to tell your mileage, direction. When you put it in reverse, the backup guide lines or guidance will come on, all wired up really nicely. Overall, that's a really awesome feature. I love that feature. And there's a bunch of bells and whistles that you can do with it, and enable other features and things like that. So like everything, you know, I mean, the new door latches, strikers, all that good stuff, all new. You can see the original color here. That's that jade green. And this truck, you know, it was everything from, you know, jade green to light jade green. It even had a layer of spray paint on it. So, you know, it was pretty bad. So we stripped all that off and repainted it. Okay. And then you can see, actually, it says F250 on the cowl. We put that on there only because we're running F250 Super Duty suspension. So we said, I'm going to put on the 250 badge. But if you look at this data plate here, it says X15. That means that's a Ford F150. You can see 1979 there. So it is a 150, and this was a two-wheel drive truck. I turned it into 4x4 with the Super Duty swap. All new lights and, you know, all that good stuff. It's got the turn signals built into the headlights also. Yeah, all the outer stuff new, windshield wipers, all the glass is new, all the seals are new. You know, overall really nice truck. Give me a moment and I'm gonna pop the hood. All right, so that's your 5-liter Coyote motor. This one actually came out of an F150. We changed out VTC sensors, front timing cover to be able to do the power by the hour alternator relocation. And the reason why we ended up having to do that was because down here where we actually used the Super Duty steering gear. So you get nice, you know, really comfortable steering using a modern steering gear. But in doing so, it interfered with the location of the alternator. So we remoted the alternator over here using that power by the hour kit. Here's the Volvo power steering pump. And you can actually see we sucked it down real low. You can actually see it through the fender there. So we tried to get it as low as possible. And it overall fit pretty good. Actually, we've got Hydro Boost brakes too. So power steering pump powers the power steering, the steering gear, and also the Hydro Boost brakes. So 4-wheel disc brakes all the way around. It stops on a dime, and just overall feels like a modern vehicle going down the road. Extremely comfortable ride for what it is, right? I mean, it's a big F250 suspension with Dana 60 axles, and it's kind of big and heavy, and that Coyote motor pushes it no problem. The brakes stop it no problem. Used a lot of fat fender garage parts like the ECM mount, Dakota Digital gear shift module, fat fender garage engine mounts, and the trans cross member. We ended up doing a lot of modifications to that to be able to fit the transfer case underneath it. What all do we got down here? Got Borla exhaust with an X pipe. So there's the X pipe, comes right out of the stock F150 headers. X pipe down into dualies right behind that dump right behind the rear tires, and Borla S curve exhaust. And then that is Full Torque Drive Shaft is the company. They're out of Portland, Oregon. That one's custom made and tested to 1,000 horsepower. Bilstein shocks, rough country, leaf springs. I think this is a 6-inch lift in the leaf and the coils. So when we got the axles off the donor truck, I didn't see the truck, but we just reused the coil springs because they look great. And then by measurement, I replaced the rear leaf springs, and I had to go with the 4 to 6 inch lift on the rear to level the truck. Remote mounted battery with a battery disconnect right there. It's a side post and top post. So the primary power is actually on the top posts. I just use ancillary for a couple of things on the front post there. But what's cool about that is it does give you the actual voltage right there. And we've got the bulkhead frame pass-throughs and stuff like that. So nicely done. Return style fuel system. It's just basically a stock tank for this model of truck. But it does have a sump style EFI fuel pump. 60 PSI, and the fuel filters in the frame rail, easy to get to. All these components like the plastic inner liner here, all that, you know, all new LMC truck stuff. So overall very nice build, super happy with it. What else? The only piece of glass that isn't new on here is actually this left side vent window. they're back ordered, trying to get the whole kit. I like to, when I do these, I like to buy the whole kit where it's the window, the frame and everything, because then it's done, it's drop in. These windows don't leak ever. That one's that kit, it's new, but they're like 16 weeks back order for the left, so we just rebuilt this one. So it's got new rubber in it and stuff, but you know, the frame and everything is the original. What else? I think that's pretty much it. You know, we did all the stuff like washer fluid, electric fans, just a good air raid intake. You know, when you pull this motor out of the F150, it's got a map sensor, so we had to pull the map sensor and convert everything to make the computer think it's a Mustang engine. So now it's got a MAF sensor, and it's there in the intake pipe there. Ford control pack requires that. Now there's some stuff missing on here. We still got to do a couple things like the brake warning light. This is the wire for that. We got to wire that in. What else? There's the linkage for the gear shifter. All that's done. You know, things like the lift springs, did all that new, like all this hardware and stuff. We just said it's so much, it's cheap, you know, it costs like $3 for that spring right there, a couple bucks, you know, here and there. And it's easier to buy it new than to sit there for hours trying to refurbish stuff. You know, things like this bracket, it was like $8. Why paint and powder coat the old one if you can just buy it new, ready to go? So that's what I did. Overall, super clean truck. It's so much fun to drive, and it catches a lot of eyes. Let's shut the hood here. Yeah, everywhere I go, pulling up at stoplights and stuff like that, this one sure catches a lot of eyes. The stereo sounds fantastic in it. I can't go anywhere and get gas without somebody pulling up next to me, and I have to give the truck's life story to everyone. So, but that's why we do this stuff. It's so much fun, and then it's a great following and community. What I noticed is, you know, I've gone through a few of these trucks already, and all the ones I've done were 2-wheel drive, short bed, slammed trucks. You know, this is the first one F100, F150 I've done that's 4x4 long bed, and I'm realizing there's a huge following for 4x4 OBS trucks. I didn't really realize how big of a following that was until I did a truck, and it catches a lot more eyes than my slammed F100s do for some reason. So yeah, they're really desirable. What else? There's a couple pieces missing. There's actually I have it. There's a trim piece that goes along the bottom of the tailgate here. I still need to install that. I need to get a new latch here. So I have this kind of taped up, the rods. If you pull those together, it will open the tailgate, but the latch itself, the one I got, wasn't working. The license plate lights, I have them, just haven't installed them yet. There's the rear. That's the backup camera there. I've put about 250 miles on this thing in the last 3 days since I finished it. And we need to do a tune update on it because it's just got the base tune in it from Lund Racing. So I'm going to put another couple 100 miles on it, do a final tune update with Lund Racing, and then it'll be ready to go to whoever wants to buy it. But like I said, I've done like 250 miles on it, and I'm noticing creaks and stuff like that. So I get down and say, oh, okay, I need to tighten this up or adjust this a little bit, but it tracks so nice going down the road. I mean, 80 miles an hour going down the interstate, I can just let go of that steering wheel and it tracks straight. I mean, unbelievable, especially pulling this whole suspension off a 2010 F250 Super Duty, installing it here, taking it right out on the highway, and it tracked dead straight going down the road. No alignment needed. Unbelievable. This is the first one I've done. There's a bracket kit that a company named Battleborn Brakes is the company name. They sell a bracket kit. It's this right here, this bracket here. the shock towers, and then the trailing arm brackets back here. So those trailing arm brackets are part of the kit. It gives you instructions and the bolts and everything. And took me, I don't know, one night to install everything, literally one day. And it makes use of a lot of the factory holes. So as long as you follow the directions, you bolt this thing in and you can take it right on the highway. It'll track straight. As long as it had a good alignment when it came off the Super Duty truck, it'll track straight going down the road unless your frame's bent on the new truck. And this frame was solid, nothing wrong with it. When I got this truck, there was a little bit of rust in the cab, basically the back seat of the cab itself. Let me get under here and show that to you. I'll go underneath here. So underneath this whole section of the back of the cab where the back seat is, that's all new. And then both of the floor pans had to be replaced. So I did not do those. I sent it to my metal fab guy. He had it for about 3 weeks. It took him to get that done, and he did a fantastic job. And so, yeah, well worth it. So yeah, whole new floor pan in the rear, and both front tubs were done. And you can see the remote trans cooler there, brackets and everything for the brackets and lighting and everything for the amp steps. Great feature, super easy to install. There's a guy on Facebook that makes this kit right here where you can install amp steps on these OBS trucks. Bolts right in, no problem. Super easy. Yep. Pretty clean under here. I still got some stuff to do. We're troubleshooting some wiring for the fuel system back there, but we got to button all that up and relume a couple things. But it's really nice is 4-wheel disc brakes all the way around with Hydro Boost braking. And this thing stops on a dime. Stops really good. Tire size. Well, I got these tires, this tire and wheel package. I bought them on Amazon, but they're rough country. And they're kind of a budget kit. I didn't spend a lot of money on these. And what are these? Dynapro AT2 Extremes, 285, 75 17s on these. And it's just doing some math on where I wanted the ride height to be. And I think it turned out really good. So that's why I got this size. And I was a little afraid because the directions on that suspension kit, it wasn't real clear on how much room you were going to get with the fenders. So I played it kind of safe to give myself a lot of room and a lot of suspension travel without hitting the fenders. And I think I kind of nailed it. Works really great. I've hit a few curbs on purpose just to kind of test the suspension, and it works really, really good. I'm not worried about it at all. So you can see that the Super Duty steering gear right there, that's part of the kit with the suspension brackets and all that good stuff. What else? So you can see the cab mounts. Those are original cab mounts and bushings. Yeah. And you can see some of the dents and dings. Now the paint, you know, it's not, I did the paint job right here. I mean, in that garage right there. So, and I'm not a painter, but I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I didn't want to spend 25 grand on a paint job, but I think I did the job. It's better than what it was. So looks decent. It'll hold up for a long time, so I'm not too worried about it. And I do like this paint color, the white. This is a Ford color, and if you look at this color and then look at that color, it's Oxford white. So this is the same white as this. The silver is, darn it, I don't remember now, but it's basically, if you ordered this truck in silver, you would have got this color. So it's literally two Ford colors, but they're for 2021 metallic silver and Oxford white, essentially from Ford. So I wanted to make sure I used Ford colors there. New seals all the way around, the chrome trim rings. It took my windshield guy 2 tries to get this window in, because these are the most difficult ones to do, but I was adamant I had to have the chrome trim ring on the windshield. If it was just the black rubber gasket, it wouldn't have worked right for me. I wouldn't have had the look I wanted. So I needed this chrome trim ring. So he actually ended up coming back and doing it again. I just bought a whole new gasket set, and he put it in. So LED lights, you know, looks great. They're super bright. They're calibrated real nice. I mean, really good line of sight. When you hit the brights with the button on the floor, you know, it would go kind of midway through the trees, and then you hit the brights and it covered the top of the trees right there. So they're set pretty good. Yeah. I think the only badges I put on it so far are this, which is not, like I said earlier, this is not correct. It's an F150, and then the Coyote badge there. So new mirrors. So yeah, I'm gonna post this video probably this weekend. If you got any questions about the truck, leave a comment. I will answer your comment. Within a couple of hours, I'll be monitoring it. So if you have comments, questions, let me know. Price is firm. I'm not budging on the price, so I'm not making a ton of money on this thing. But it was a fun build, and it's super fun to drive. So thanks everyone.